The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by NYRA Bets. Bet the Kentucky Derby by using the code SGPN25 for a $25 free bet plus a $200 deposit match bonus at nyrabets.com/SGPN25 and start winning today. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently Thursday night, May 1st, around 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm always Scott Reichel, once again, going solo for this pod. Time to get into the preview for the two semifinal matches taking place on Friday in Madrid. For that, though, I do want to recap what happened in the last episode, both for the lock and dog picks and for the actual quarterfinal matches. Overall, a great episode for us. A much-needed great episode for us. Ended up sweeping, as we did end up winning the lock and dog picks. For the lock and a two-pick parlay, had Ruud money line, parlayed with Musetti money line, and both guys did win in straight sets, but it was minus 102. Nice win there, so nothing really else to add. For the dog, we went with the bold same-game parlay strategy for what we thought was going to be a competitive matchup between Cerundolo and Mensik. Had the team total over 12.5 for both players at plus 178. Worked out as we got the breaker that I was expecting. Saw Cerundolo come back after losing the first set as he ended up winning in 3. But either way, we ended up winning the team total over parlay. I like it a lot as a general idea moving forward. Instead of trying to take an over 2.5 sets at pretty minimal odds, I'd say, you can try to get creative with it if you are looking at one very good server and you're picking at least one very competitive set. It is a good way of getting extra value on a pretty similar script, getting a 3-set marathon. We got that, so overall nice win for the lock and the dog picks. For the recap, though, for the quarterfinals, once again, it was mostly straightforward, but you had the one competitive match between Cerundolo and Mensik, which went to 3 sets. So Ruud ended up beating Medvedev in straight sets. It was competitive in the second set, as Ruud did win 7-5. Not surprising, because we had Ruud, once again, the money line to help us out with the lock parlay. But he didn't get broken in the entire match. Thought that Medvedev was getting by against weak competition and thought Ruud was playing great tennis, beating Korda, beating Fritz in straight sets, for example. Medvedev, we know, is also not great on clay. Ruud has looked very good so far in Madrid, and I did think he'd end up winning. He got the job done there in straight sets, so not a shock there. Medvedev lost, and either way, Ruud came through for us. Moving on to the next match, you saw Cerundolo beat Mensik in 3. Not a surprise that Mensik was serving very well to start with, and then as the match went on, seemed like he kind of ran out of gas, which was not the most surprising thing in the world. We did pick Cerundolo to win in 3, but we did end up picking the match to be very close. And it was, but Mensik had 11 aces. He ended up winning 78%, 79% of his first serve points. The issue, though, once again, the second serve drop-off, won 44% of his second serve points. Cerundolo, by comparison, won 66% of his second serve points, and he got the job done there as he won in 3 sets. So nice win there for him. Nice win for us on the dog team total same game parlay, which worked out well for us. Moving on, you saw Draper beat Arnaldi in straight sets. It was an ass-kicking. Draper won the first set via bagel, and then you ended up seeing him win the second set 6-4. Arnaldi just didn't really threaten him ever. Draper, we know, is a very good rallier, and he's got some underrated firepower as well. Arnaldi just couldn't really hit the ball past him. Unforced errors were an issue. Thought it would be, and saw Draper dominate as he continues to look very good in the event. And last but not least, saw Musetti beat Diallo. Was actually down a break in the first set, then came back and broke twice as he was able to win the first set 6-4. Then he broke immediately in the first game of the second set, and then eventually broke again to win the match. But overall, not too much drama. We got every match right, which was pretty nice. I know it's been a bit of a bad run for us lately, but we thought Ruud would win, probably in straight sets. We didn't mind the games there for Ruud that cashed, like Cerundolo in 3. That got there. Draper in straight sets, and Musetti in straight sets. So overall, a perfect episode for us. We'll try to keep it rolling here for the matches taking place on Friday. Before we get to that, though, a reminder for the actual podcast. You can help the show grow by leaving a like and subscribing to the YouTube channel. And reminder also, don't forget to rate and review the podcast on Spotify or Apple. So podcast available on video format on YouTube. It's also available simulcasting on Twitter on the SGPN Twitter account. But you can also check it out on Spotify or Apple for audio versions of the podcast only. Don't forget to leave a rating and a review, though, when you do listen to it in those places. Plus, a reminder, you'd help the show grow with the merch store, because we do have a lot of great Tennis Gambling Podcast merch with sweatshirts, t-shirts, and mugs. High quality, very affordable, different colors as well, different options. Recommend checking it out, not just for this show, but for the other shows with the network. And a reminder that the podcasts on this network are not just available, once again, on Spotify or YouTube. You could also find it on Apple. You could also find it on Twitter. But that's the same with pretty much every podcast on the network, not just this one. So I want to help SGPN grow with the free content that we provide. Take a second to give 5 stars for a rating and subscribe to all of the different YouTube shows that you listen to, whether it involves the tennis gambling podcast, the MLB gambling podcast, NBA gambling podcast, college experience, etc. Don't forget to go to each of those channels individually to help each of those shows grow. Anyway, time to move on into the actual preview of the matches taking place on Friday. Starting off with the first match of the semis, we have the early match between Ruud and Cerundolo. For this one, Ruud is a slight favorite, about minus 124, give or take. You have Cerundolo at around, I'd say, plus 104, give or take. Shop around, though. You can find different prices. I see for example, like plus 102, minus 121. So you can chop around, save a couple of cents. Ruud, though, minus 1.5 games is plus 102. You have Cerundolo plus 1.5 games at minus 127. And the over-under in games is set at 113 for the over, minus 113 for 22.5, and the unders at minus 109. Now, for that history, a lot of history between them, actually. Going through the meetings, you ended up seeing them face off a couple of times in so they faced off one time this year, a couple of times in 2024. Cerundolo did win each of the last 2 meetings in straight sets, beat him in Miami about 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, give or take, and Cerundolo won that one 6-4, 6-2. Now, mentioning the clay history, it has been interesting because Ruud has gotten the better of Cerundolo more often than not. Faced off in the Olympics last year, Ruud won in straight sets, faced off in Rome in 2023, and Ruud won in straight sets. Faced off in Barcelona, saw Cerundolo win that one in straight sets. Faced off in Bastad in 2022, and Ruud won that one Ruud lost that one in 3 sets. So the point is Cerundolo and Ruud have had a couple of very competitive clay battles, and you might end up seeing another clay war here as Ruud won each of the last 2 clay meetings, but Cerundolo won the first 2, so you might end up getting what should be a very fun matchup. Now, for the actual path of both guys have been playing really well. Ruud has not dropped a set yet, beat Rinderknecht in straight sets, beat Cord in straight sets, beat Fritz in straight sets, and beat Medvedev in straight sets. So very good competition so far, and Ruud looks up to his normal clay standard. We've not actually seen it for a while, but he definitely got back into his usual self again on clay. I'll see if he can get into the final here for Madrid. As for Cerundolo, he's been in good form lately. Did lose in the semifinals in Munich to Shelton. Besides that, though, he has been great as he was able to make it to the semis there. Ended up beating Mayotte, beat Comasagna, beat Zverev, and beat Mensik. So he's been playing well here. That was the first match where he's dropped a set all tournament against Mensik. Mensik was playing well. Nice win for him, and definitely showcasing a solid serve, at least with the ability to fight off breakpoints. I believe he fought off 7 of the 8 breakpoints he faced. Point is, though, we're looking at what should be a very close match on paper, and the odds reflect that because you're looking at the history being very, very close, as it is currently 5-3 in favor of Cerundolo, but it's tied 2-2 on clay. But Ruud has looked like the better player so far in the event. It has been close, but Ruud beating Fritz, beating once again Korda, and beating Medvedev in straight sets each, I think is very impressive. And Cerundolo did play a lot longer on the court in terms of, I'd say, stress and in terms of overall just, I think, I don't want to use the word doubt, because it looked like Cerundolo was going to potentially lose in straight sets there before pulling off the second set in a breaker, and then he was able to eventually win the third set pretty comfortably. But the point is, it felt like Ruud has just been in a bit more control throughout the entirety of the event, and I do think that Ruud, if he's able to find his form again for the 5th straight match in this event, I think he's going to be very tough to beat. Now, Cerundolo, said before, was in great form, not dropping a set either, but Mensik was difficult. Ruud was on the court for about 30 minutes or less on Thursday. But the point is, I do think Ruud right now is playing better tennis. I think he should be favored. Cerundolo, I think we'll make this competitive, though. I'm picking a very close match, but I think I am going to go with Ruud, probably in 3. Just think his game translates a bit better to the courts here with the topspin that he possesses and the fact that Ruud does stand very far back on the court. And Cerundolo is also not a great server. I do think Cerundolo served well in the event, but I think that Ruud's deep return position can create a lot of long rallies, which is where he wants to be. Cerundolo has some underrated net skills, not exactly the most amazing guy at the net, but at times he can definitely showcase his skill. I do think that daring Cerundolo to actually come forward and serve and volley is going to be the main, I'd say, really interesting cat and mouse game between these two guys, because Ruud wants to stand far back. Cerundolo is going to really not shy away from long rallies either, but Cerundolo can choose to end points quicker he comes to the net, even though he's not the most comfortable at the net. And that could be an issue we see in this one. We saw that in the Diallo match against Musetti, for example. That's why I mentioned Musetti money line for part of the parlay. Diallo has a big serve. Musetti was going to stand way far back on the court, basically daring Diallo to come forward. And Diallo's really not good at the net. So you saw Diallo punt away a lot of free points because he couldn't really volley properly. And Musetti, as a result, broke him a ton in that match. So I see a pretty similar script here for Ruud. I think Cerundolo, once again, is going to have some moments in this matchup, but I see at least one competitive set. We have seen Cerundolo have a 7-5 or a 7-6 in 2 straight matches. So Ruud have a 7-5 in 2 straight matches as well. I think you're going to get at least one close set here, but I do think Ruud right now is playing better tennis. I'll go with him in this one to get the job done. Don't mind the over, though, at 22.5 games. You might have to sweat it out a little bit, though, because you can see a hypothetical 7-6-6-3 scoreline, which would end up killing you by the hook. So I do prefer maybe a team total over, but I think Ruud's better right now, and I think I'm going to pick him in this one. Give me Ruud for a cheap money line price here at minus 121 as my main play for this breakdown. Before getting into the second match, though, for the semis in Madrid, a reminder that we brought to you by our sponsor, Red Juice, because the first ever bank gamble for bettors. You can ensure that all gambling transactions are approved, no usage fees, and no imbalance. You can also cash back rewards, 100% approval for all betting deposits. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet. Promo code SGPN. Deposit $25 and EdgeBoost will match the deposit. That's edgeboost.bet. Promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by NYR Bets because it's Derby Week at SGPN. You can make sure to check out the Horse Racing Podcast, Notorious OTB, for all your picks. Plus, you can get on the action for the most exciting 2 minutes in sports with NYR Bets. Sign up today and boost your bankroll for the Derby with a $25 free bet and a $200 deposit bonus with promo code SGPN25. Join now and claim your $25 free bet and $200 deposit match bonus at NYRBets.com. That's SGPN25. We're also brought to you by MyBookie.ag because they're the book to bet in every sport. They have the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs. They have the MLB card as well, UFC, you name it. They have props in every game as well. And a reminder, you can use it from a ton of different locations, and a reminder that you can use crypto for your deposits like fast payouts. You can also head to MyBookie.ag with the promo code SGPN when you sign up for your new account to get 100% deposit match up to 1K. Terms and conditions apply. MyBookie.ag, promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finished breaking down the first semifinal matchup between Ruud and Cerundolo. Time to move on to the second matchup, which should be a pretty fun one between Draper and Musetti. Now, Draper's actually a pretty big favorite here. He's around minus 200. Musetti's around plus 163. For the spread, minus 2.5 for Draper, plus 2.5 for Musetti, and the over-under is set at 22.5. Now, Draper has been great in the event so far. Both guys, though, have not dropped a set yet. Musetti has been vulnerable when it comes to dropping sets, but he's been able to overcome it. He's been able to fight back down a break, and he has been able to win every set. Now, Draper, though, has been rolling. The only set that's been close was against Berrettini, and Berrettini had to fight off 4 set points for eventually losing in the breaker. So Draper could have won that before the breaker as well. But you're looking at Draper, who's been in great form. He has not dropped more than 4 games in a set in every set except for 1 so far in the event. That was that first set tiebreak against Berrettini. But right now, Draper is currently 7-0 in sets here. Most of them have been unopposed. He's been kind of coasting, and we'll see if he can do it once again here on Friday. Now, as for Musetti, like Draper, he has also not dropped a set yet. Ended up beating Echeverry in a competitive first set. Then he won straight sets, beat Tsitsipas 7-5, 7-6, beat de Minaur, and beat Diallo. However, he was down a break in the first set against Diallo and against Tsitsipas. So the point is Musetti's been able to escape in a couple of close sets, but both guys have been playing well. Musetti really didn't look that great, though, in the match on Thursday. Diallo just kept spraying unforced errors because it was a bad matchup for him. Because Musetti with the clay is going to use a lot of variety. He's going to not be afraid to use some slicing if he needs to. He'll also hit some moon balls if necessary. And Diallo really didn't feel comfortable coming to the net. So Musetti used his overall skill set to frustrate Diallo, extract the unforced errors, and win the match. The problem is it's not going to work with Draper, because Draper is also very rock solid behind the baseline, and you should see a lot of long points between these two guys. Now, the one thing I want to mention, even though pointing out none of these head-to-head meetings were on clay, which is Musetti's best surface, Draper has kicked Musetti's ass so far in their careers. Faced off 4 times if you want to include the Wimbledon boys match there. So once again, juniors, you can kind of skip, but Draper did win that one in 3 sets. So skipping the juniors match here, faced off 3 times, and they faced off 1 time last year in Vienna on hard court, and Draper's won all 3 of those meetings in straight sets. So the point is Draper has really owned Musetti, and I can see why Draper's a big favorite in this matchup. Now, I do think that Musetti, of course, being the finalist in Monte Carlo, being the bronze medal winner in the Olympics this past year, I think once again he is a very solid clay player. I think he's an elite clay player. However, Draper, who's been having a serious, I'd say, emergence as a potential top 5, top 10 guy in the world, has proven that he's actually very solid on clay. And he's looked very good so far against good competition. Draper did get a pretty lucky draw against Arnaldi in the last round. Still beat Paul 6-2, 6-2, beat Greek Sport 6-3, 6-4. Been playing well. Musetti had a nice solid path as well against good competition. Echeverri can be tricky on clay. Tsitsipas can be as well. Same thing with de Minaur. Diallo, though, is also a very easy draw for him. So both guys kind of lucked out with their actual draw in the quarters, and now we'll see how they look against each other in this one. But based on that history, and based on, in my opinion, the form of both guys right now, both guys have won every set, but one guy's done so more convincingly, and I do think that Draper right now is the better player at this point in time. Musetti, I didn't think it looked that great against Diallo, and yes, I know that some of it could be based on the opponent, but Musetti missed a lot of easy shots. Thought that his serve was also a bit vulnerable. He ended up fighting off, I believe, a couple break points in the final game of the first set. So he almost got broken twice in the first set against Diallo, who's not a great returner. I think Draper can find openings here. I think Draper serves well in the event as well. But I am going to go with the favorite here. The problem is trying to find value. I think 2.5 games makes sense, but Musetti can definitely win a set. However, Musetti does tend to lose sets in embarrassing fashion, whether it involves 6-1 or 6-2s. If things go poorly for him early, he can sometimes roll over, and Draper's been a great starter to these matches. I think Draper might get off to a good start. I don't mind Draper first set and full match. Maybe if you want to go for the Draper spread, I don't mind that either. But when you are currently 4-0 lifetime, 3-0 if you want to ignore the junior match, then I do think there is definitely a certain amount of, I'd say, matchup problems that the underdog has here. And I think Musetti, just for some reason, maybe it's the lefty forehand, for whatever reason, he can't beat this guy. And I think that until I see Musetti beat Draper, I'll pick Draper. Now, we saw this backfire in Monte Carlo because Musetti never beat Tsitsipas, and now he won back-to-back matches against Tsitsipas on clay. But I do think that Draper, based on how he's playing right now, is just playing too well, and I think that his form is higher than Musetti's. I'll take Draper in this one minus the games, and I think he'll win the first set and the match. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for the 2 matches for the Friday semis in Madrid. Now it's time for the Lock and Dog picks. For that, the reminder, they're brought to you by our sponsor, On Fantasy. Play there and pick them for a chance to win 100 times your money. You can also use their new game ladders, win up to 500 times your money watching your favorite players climb the ladder. And a reminder, then when you sign up for a new account, use the promo code SGPN to get a special and a first-time deposit offer up to 1K bonus cash on a fancy promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm, because they are the home of AI bet picks and props, available for the NBA playoffs, for the MLB prop market. You could use it for a free trial as well. They have a free week trial. If you want to give it a shot, you can also build your own model. Very simple and easy to do. You can also use their amazing deals they have. They have 2 deals going on, one for a monthly discount, one for an annual discount. For the monthly discount, you can use the promo code SGPN25 for a 25% off discount for the month, and for the annual deal, 50% off the annual subscription with promo code SGPN50. Once again, the Rhythm, RATHMN, promo code SGPN25 or SGPN50. Sign up, though, for the free week trial by going to sportscampodcast.com/RATHMN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finished going through the 2 matches on Friday. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks. For the lock, I'm going to go back to the last match between Draper and Musetti, and I am going to go with Draper first set, minus 1.5 games at minus 130. Draper's been rolling so far in the match, especially early, and I do think that he is right now in better form. Musetti's been winning every set so far as well, but I do want to point out that Musetti was down a break against Diallo and against Tsitsipas. So he has been getting off to some slow starts out of the gates, and I do think that Draper, who's been on fire recently, has looked like his old self again. After winning Indian Wells, he was in a bit of a rut, climbed out of it. He's been in good competition. He's been winning comfortably. I think Draper should jump him early. Musetti, we know, is not afraid of coming back from behind because we've seen him do so in multiple events, mostly in Monte Carlo recently, where he was punting the first set, basically coming back and winning the matches. I think that Draper, though, who's been a good front runner so far into the tournament, should continue to do well early in the match. Draper, though, has lost less than 4 games in the first set in 3 of his first 4 matches here. One exception was against Berrettini, where he had a couple of set points as well before the breaker. I think Draper is right now in great form. He's also won 9 straight sets against Musetti, whether it was juniors or not. He's owned Musetti, and I do think Draper should hit the ground running here in the first set. Give me Draper first set minus 1.5 games here at minus 130. That was on DraftKings, I believe. Quickly checking to see if I can find a better price, actually, at the last second. Trying to see if I could find it. I don't think I'm going to. Actually, no, I did. So I found a minus 115. So I'm actually going to fix that. Bet Rivers, updated price here. Draper to win the first set, minus 1.5 games here is at minus 115. That is going to be the lock. For the dog, though, I'm going to go to the Ruud and Cerundolo match. I mentioned I'm expecting a close matchup, but I am picking Ruud to win. So give me Ruud team total over 12.5 at even money. This one is on DraftKings. Now, Ruud has not dropped a set yet, but he's had a couple of close sets, a 7-5 against Medvedev and a 7-5 against Fritz. Point is, though, he's been winning every set. But there has been a little bit of drama associated with a set or two in the event. There's also been a couple of close sets for Cerundolo, because Cerundolo has had he had a 7-6 in the last match against Mensik. He had a 7-5 against Zverev. So he's had a couple of close sets as well. And I can see one of these sets minimum being a bit of a marathon. Plus, there has been a lot of competitive sets of tennis in their head-to-head history. 4 clay meetings, I said before, it was tied 2-2. There's been a 7-5 or a 7-6 set in 3 of the 4 clay meetings. So you might end up seeing a bit of a marathon. Maybe you get a 3-setter, and Ruud gets there anyway. But I do like the price here for getting a favorite. Not by a lot, by the way. He's like minus 120. To go over this team total at even money, I think it's a great price. I think if it goes to 3 sets, Ruud probably gets there. Ruud can get there in straight sets in theory. And I do think that based on the overall pricing, with the money line being close and with the actual team total, even money is a great price. I'll take that as my dog. Think it definitely has some value, especially based on the head-to-head history with a 7-5 or 7-6 set being played in 3 of the 4 clay head-to-head meetings. Anyway, once again, my plays for the semis in Madrid. Lock will be on Draper first set minus 1.5 games at minus 115. For the dog, give me Ruud team total over 12.5 at even money. That's going to wrap it up. Back once again for the final in Madrid. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your